great. No worries at all. So, since this is the Mother's Day week, we've had Mother's Day this last Sunday. We really wanted to touch upon all the problems that women, as like mothers, have, and everyone else too, have regarding their skincare basis of like all the hormones that are like raging around in their bodies, what havoc they wreak on, the skin, most importantly. So, uh, I'll introduce Dr. Chaitra a little bit. So, for those who have just joined, Dr. Chaitra is like a leading dermatologist in India. She's known as the Indian beauty guru. She specializes in Indian skin, and she's also the dermatologist of very famous celebrities. Like, we are not going to talk about whom though. Uh, she has a lot of experience with Indian patients. She's treated over like 2 lakhs of them. And she also trains dermats with Cosmoderma, which is her first business. And now with SkinQ, she has started this whole company to really reach multiple active ingredient products to everyone. And Doc, do you want to take it ahead?
No, I'm good. Do you want to introduce our topic for today, and then just we can get right into it. But good evening. It's a pleasure
Absolutely.
to be here.
So today we have a mix of both people who are preparing to become mothers in the next few years and people
Oh,
who are
wow,
already
nice.
mothers. And we're going to be talking a lot about the
Mm-hmm.
skincare issues that women face when they have babies, when they have their pregnancy cycles, and what is like the best skincare tips to like manage the raging hormones, like mentioned before. So let's see. Doc, do you want to start us off with like maybe some general like what kind of hormones like are existing within the body and like how they're affected by the pregnancy cycles?
Sure. So, normally, right, for women, we all have
Mm-hmm.
estrogen, we all have testosterone, which is the male hormone, and we have progesterone, which becomes actually more during pregnancy. But otherwise, it's really these are the main fertility-based hormones. And then we also have thyroid levels, which tend to change as we're pregnant also. So, at any given time, the body functions are all monitored by these hormones being in synchrony, right? They have a ratio among themselves. So by maintaining the ratio is how the body manages to keep itself in balance. Now, when somebody is planning a pregnancy, the first thing we always say as doctors is also to ensure that their hormone environment is already stable, because you have to make sure that your thyroid or thyroid stimulating hormone, which is TSH, is normal, that you don't have thyroid antibodies or TPOs. And then you've got to ensure that your FSH-LH, which is follicle stimulating hormone, and luteinizing hormone are in the same ratio. It's a 3:1 ratio. That ratio needs to be maintained. And then there's something called prolactin, which should come in only when you're breastfeeding, not before. But the thing is, some people have elevated prolactin because of increased stress, environmental toxins, etc. So, and then we also look at LH, FSH, and the ratio between that. And then we look at DHEA, which is a precursor to testosterone. They're called androgens. And so we want to make sure that there's not extra androgens in the body, because that impacts the quality of the egg. So that's pre-pregnancy, because you said some people are planning to be mothers here. And one of the things we do as part of this is, like, when someone's planning a pregnancy, we tell them to have a whole fertility check done. Start off with their folic acids, calciums, vitamin Ds, etc., as required, which anyway OB-GYN will do. But in the other
Oh, that's great.
aspect, one second, please. In the other aspect, though, is that when we are pregnant, right, what happens is the whole ambience in our body turns towards the other life form that there is, the fetus, as we call it, right, or the baby that's forming in there. So it's all about how to nourish that, how to keep the environment stable and safe for that little baby that's growing in there. So there are changes again with the hormones. Progesterone becomes the bigger play here, because progesterone is the hormone that's going to maintain the pregnancy, right? And so that's what happens. And then there's another one, HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin hormone. So that also plays a large role in all of this. Now, what are the impacts of it on us, right? Progesterone also makes people get a little bloaty. So there's increased water retention in the body. And it also, there's change in the estrogen levels and the progesterone balance. So it also gives the skin the stretchability it needs so that it can expand to accommodate the fetus. Now,
Right.
important at that time is to maintain the moisturizing effect of the skin. If the skin is not hydrated or
Yes.
moisturized, it can lead to uh, breaks in the skin, which is what we see as stretch marks, right? The commonest thing we see in pregnancy is really stretch marks. And that's because the skin is
Actually,
expanding. Now, if, sorry?
Actually, one of the most common questions that we've received is stretch marks and how do we heal them? So this is something
Yeah.
that concerns, I think, a lot of women here.
Yeah, I think like 99% of the women who get pregnant will get stretch marks. And, as such, even without pregnancy, yo-yoing of the weight up and down will also cause stretch marks. Stretch mark is nothing but a tear in the skin. Now, this happens because the skin was not able to stretch. So it tore, and that causes that line. Now, when it's pink or purplish in color, it's a early stage stretch mark. At that time, it'll heal well, not a problem. The problem happens when the stretch mark turns white. White stretch mark is old stretch mark that cannot heal with applications. It requires laser therapy at a doctor's office. So I always tell young mothers, even when you're pregnant, moisturize a lot. The more you hydrate and moisturize, right? Like ceramide moisturizers, shea butter, olive oil, almond oil, wheat germ oil if you're very dry. The more you moisturize yourself, the more moisturized and expandable your skin gets. It's like an elastic rubber band, right? If the rubber band is nice, it expands. But if you put it in the sun for a bit, it gets hard. So when you stretch, it just
Yes,
cracks. The same thing happens to the skin. That's why it's very critical that one must have a lot of moisturizer. So we say that when you have your shower, right after the shower, just take out the water like this and put all olive oil or almond oil or even coconut oil on your skin, which is there, and then dab yourself dry with a towel. Don't rub, but dab yourself dry, and then you put another layer of moisturizer, which is like shea butter, cocoa butter. All of these are really good at pregnancy time and absolutely safe. And even when you're planning a pregnancy, get started, prepare ahead of time. Now, should you
so
develop
that's
stretch
great.
marks? Yeah, so should you develop stretch marks? Silicone gel is what works on it. It's safe even in pregnancy. So you have to start applying silicone gel on it so that it heals. And if you can, go get the laser treatment done right away because it completely heals and it doesn't affect pregnancy or it doesn't affect the baby. One can have that because they're near infrared lasers. And so have that, and that'll close up the stretch mark. But a lot of people, right, when they're pregnant, they just want to take care of the baby. They don't bother about what's happening to themselves. And then when they realize it's already old, and that stretch mark only fades by 40 to 50%. It never cures once it turns white because of the color in our skin. So that's what I say about stretch marks. Next thing is also taking omega oil, right? Omega oil capsules or omega oil as an oil is also very important for people because when you do that omega oil, what it does is it nourishes from the inside, like vitamin E supplements, omega supplements. All of these are nourishing to the body, right? And we also say have coconut. Now, people will say why, but coconut, raw coconut, right? Like in coconut chutney, like that, 1 teaspoon of coconut every day is very good because it has a particular acid called linoleic acid. And that outside of coconut is only found in breast milk. So it's extremely nourishing. So that's something else that one can incorporate into their diet once they're pregnant. Coconut. It has high
Okay.
omegas in there as a source itself, and it's really good for the brain development of the child because it has DHA, etc. So this is the
Got
initial phase, right? Now that's the body skin, but sometimes people get acne, right? Or people who
Yes.
have bad acne, the skin clears up. People who have had really great acne suddenly get acne. So that itself is another thing that the hormones are flaring a little bit, but they flare, but obviously your body is not able to handle it, so you have a flare up. So don't avoid that kind of acne. That kind of acne can easily be treated. You can see your doctor for a prescription or our acne control mask is actually safe in pregnancy because niacinamide, salicylic acid, sulfur, and zinc, which are safe to be used as a topical application, even in pregnant women. So the acne control mask can be applied 15 minutes, left on, washed off on a daily basis to control the breakouts. Or you can get prescription treatments from your dermatology office also when it gets a little bit more aggressive. It's treatable. Next, with that comes melasma or the mask of pregnancy. It's called chloasma. People start developing pigmentation on their cheeks, on their nose, in this area in a butterfly pattern like this. So
Yeah.
typically it's like this. So that happens quite a bit, sadly. And that's actually way more distressing than anything else because when you get melasma, treatment of that is really, really hard. So prevention of melasma is better. So sunscreen. So even if you're pregnant, you must be wearing that sunscreen because remember now when somebody is pregnant the hormones are changing, so their whole skin sensitivity has increased, so you'll be more sensitive to pigmenting than you were before because everything on your body is on high alert when you're pregnant. So even the cell renewal process is on alert, so you'll increase the cell production of your melanin, which is the pigment. So you've got to be on high alert, so definitely use the sunscreen during pregnancy. And if you start seeing melasma coming up, immediately start with pigment suppressants like the skin hue brightening serum is safe in pregnancy. Cosmoderma has a Derma Bright cream that's also safe in pregnancy because they're made safe certified for skin hue,
Yeah.
and it's just glycolic malic acid and kojic acid, which is a mushroom extract, and they're all deemed safe in pregnancy as topical applications. You want to suppress that pigmentation before it gets more because more pigment drags more pigment, right? It's inflammatory. Little bit comes, it expands, and then there's a lot of it. So you want to nip it in the bud. So that's the thing with melasma. And then comes hair. Okay, or even let's say dark circles. Some people feel that they got dark circles and it's because they're not sleeping enough, especially after delivery with the baby night duties, etc. But it's not true. It's really because most mothers become vitamin B complex, vitamin D, and calcium deficient. And so it's very important to supplement from the third month, after the third month, from the fourth month of pregnancy with vitamins and calcium, etc., even before delivery, and especially through the whole period of lactation when they're breastfeeding till they stop, and for at least another 6 months after they stop breastfeeding, because whatever nutrition you have in your body is always given to the baby first, and whatever's left over is then given to the mother, and you're going to need 3 times the nutrition. So if you were eating normally for one person, you're going to eat normally only for one person. You don't eat more than that. But the thing is, you eat more nutrition. So you double up your nutrition requirement, not the calorie count. So that's what's important to keep. People are like, oh, please eat this laddu, eat Gond ka laddu, eat this. You're eating for two. And you're like, no, that only weighs 100, 200 grams. You're not eating for two. You're eating for one, but you want the nutrition status for two. That's what's important.
Right.
Excess of nutrition better than less of
Yeah.
nutrition. So that's
That's
one thing.
great to
Next
hear.
comes next comes the hair fall, right? Which really bothers people. The reason being that, hair looks really thick and nourished during the pregnancy. That's absolutely normal. But after the pregnancy, the hormones start coming back to normal, etc. And then you're breastfeeding, so your nutrition is going out of your body, etc. So you start getting hair fall, which is called telogen effluvium. It's actually a physiological natural hair fall that every mother faces after giving birth or after the breastfeeding stops because your body is being drained of nutrients, so your hair didn't get enough of it, so it's a shedding period, and that hair will grow back. It's not that it won't grow back, it will grow back. But what's important is to make sure you get enough nourishment, and it's not about folic acid or biotin only. Biotin is just crap. It's not about that. It really is the whole vitamin complex, including vitamin C, D, and E. With A, you have to be a little cautious when you have a baby and you're breastfeeding, but after breastfeeding, you can take a vitamin A. Then it's also about like the minerals, right? Like calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, ferritin, which is the iron form, and the trace elements that we have, including zinc. And it's also about the protein or the amino acids and peptides, which is very critical. So having that in the diet is also extremely critical when you're pregnant and post-pregnancy, because this hair is keratin. Keratin is nothing but protein. So if you don't have enough protein in your diet, you'll end up getting frizzy hair, easy hair breakage, split ends, etc. So these are the typical things one must be aware of when they're going through the whole thing about pregnancy, and not to panic, but take your supplements. Like SkinQ will soon have hair supplements, but Cosmoderma has Hair Gen, which is safe for pregnant women, and they can take that, right? Or lactating women to nourish their hair and nails so that it's the shedding is minimal, and even if they're shedding, the hair grows back. So those are few of the critical components that one must know when you're dealing with all of this about pregnancy and pregnancy related issues.
There's another question which has like come up with for us, which is like a lot of women face, especially new mothers, face like sagging of their during breastfeeding. So, what is like the skincare advice that we should be following for the breast area, and is it like different from what you would do for the belly?
Actually, it's the same skincare, except that you should get into the habit of having massages. In India, the good thing is we have the ayas who come home for 8 weeks after the baby is born and do those malishes, right? That's extremely important and critical, because when you do the massage, it's not a relaxing massage at all. But it's like one of those harsh boom boom kind of massages. And when they do that, the thing that happens is they're increasing the circulation, and they're doing the lymphatic drainage, because when there's a lot of fat, because everybody has fat after the baby, there's stasis. So you want the needing action to remove all the toxins from the body. So that is very critical, not just for the body, but all the breast area too. Moisturizing this area is extremely critical. But the breast tends to bounce back quite well, provided you do all of these things. The other thing we tell people is that if they're breastfeeding and their breast size has become very large, then to use like elastic garments around the breast to keep it supported. Because if you don't support it, it doesn't get the traction. Like, liposuction, after liposuction, we put these elastic garments so it gives traction to that area so it doesn't overexpand. The same thing needs to be done with breasts and the tummy area. Like in the olden days, they tie a sari. Now you get these the abdomen belts to wear. So those are critical to help the skin bounce back.
Oh, that's great. So there's another question which has come up, which is like, what are some skincare ingredients that we need to avoid while in pregnancy stage or in early before or just after? Like, are there any particular ingredients which are not
Retin-A,
safe?
like even retinol, mild retinols are allowed now topically, but it's Tretin or Tretin-A and high dose salicylic acid. Up to 2% salicylic acid is fine, but if it's more than 2%, even that needs to be avoided, because salicylic acid can lead to salicylic poisoning. But 3-4% like that, not 1 and 2%. But retinol in low doses is also allowed. Before we used to say no retinol, but you should avoid antibiotics except for azithromycin. Typically, we avoid that. We're careful about ibuprofen in pregnancy. We're careful about antihistamines. Some of them are fine and safe, no problem, and stuff. But topically, it really is about not applying retin-A and high dose salicylic acid. Otherwise, most of it, everything else is completely safe to apply. Stick to the skincare routine. Don't stop using the routine. A lot of people think they get pregnant, they should like be careful and detox and not put anything on, leave the skin natural and fresh. But that's just a myth. You need to use your regular skincare routine as you are doing. You may find that your skin gets a bit more oily on the T-zone and stuff, or you may go the other way and you may get a little bit more drier. So both either way, you need to keep your skincare routine going.
All right. So everyone, we've heard from Doc, like we should definitely be taking care of our skin and not letting ourselves go on wayside when we are expecting a baby. So we'd like to now open to the audience. Like, does anyone have any questions here? Because I know a lot of you are really hesitant or have like a lot of concerns regarding your skincare. Please feel free to either mention them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. So meanwhile, Doc, maybe you can tell us about like, are sunscreens really safe while using during pregnancy or when expecting?
Of course, it is. The reason is, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a topical product. The absorption of it is minimal into the bloodstream, and none of it is going to affect the development of the fetus, really, when used, you know, properly. So I don't think one should worry about it. If one is super concerned, they can shift over to a of physical sunscreen, which is like a zinc oxide, because that just stays on the skin surface with that whitish hue, and
Mhm.
avoid other sunscreens. But honestly, even American Academy of Dermatology and pediatric associations say that using sunscreen is more beneficial than not using sunscreens.
Oh, that's great to hear. And what about sunscreens for babies? Like, I think during the
Yeah,
first few months, you're not supposed to, or
yes,
are
till they're
there any
six
safe
months.
sunscreen?
Yeah, till 6 months of age, don't use sunscreen for babies. Their skin is developing, they're young and sensitive. But after 6 months, one can use sunscreen on babies. In fact, you should ideally use it if they're outdoor for a long time. But if sun is important, it doesn't mean we bathe the whole baby in a sunscreen, but we must definitely put sunscreen on exposed areas. So that is definitely safe to do. At all, and stuff, and protect the child. There are a lot of sunscreens available. There's Cetaphil, there's Neutrogena, which are really good brands, and Aveeno, etc. Even SkinQ sunscreen is something that we recommend for over 2 years of age. Up to 2 years of age, it's better to use just a physical barrier for kids.
That's great. So we have in the comments Shruti, who wants to
A
know if you can
retinol
recommend
product,
any retinol product. Yeah, which is
right,
safe for
Shruti?
nursing mothers.
If you're using a retinol product, the some of the decent ones in India that are available is that there's a prescriptive one called UGuard, but there's also the Olay has a decent retinol actually. They've come out with some decent retinol and niacinamide skincare range. You can use that. And then yeah, so these are the two that I tend to recommend more than about the others, because there is research and proof behind these products. So those are safe.
And do we have any treatments for body acne, which is asked by
Sure.
Mishra?
Body acne is kind of similar to face acne in terms of treatment, right? You have to think of what you're going to do to exfoliate the acne, to reduce the oiliness, and to stop the skin clog,
ఓవర్
right?
యాక్షన్
And
చేయకు లిఫ్ట్ పని చేయట్లేదు ఎంజాయ్ చేసుకో
Right.
so then what we would do is, for body acne, I would always advise our patients that they use like a salicylic acid face wash as part of their body wash routine, and use the salicylic acid in their bath to wipe off the entire surface like a cleanser, but as a body wash. And then you use a glycolic lotion, like a 10% to a 12% glycolic lotion on a daily basis on that area. A lot of times when you have body acne, you'll need to have antibiotics. So seek the prescription of your doctor. It'll take 2 to 3 months to clean up body acne. And so that can be done. A common trigger for women in India for body acne is actually waxing. So if it is waxing that's triggering the body acne, it's better to stop waxing and then have laser hair reduction done. It's permanent. So that's my advice.
All right. So another question that I see which is coming up is like, is there any food products that you should eat to maintain healthier skin during pregnancy?
Definitely eating nuts and seeds are very important. Coconut, like I said, so more oily stuff, right? Like walnuts, almonds are excellent during pregnancy. Flaxseed is something else that's very good, especially because it's more estrogenic during pregnancy. Eating a lot of spinach and also egg, because you need protein. That those are critical in the diet during pregnancy. Getting enough source of protein, vitamins, and minerals. So you eat according to that. And fruits like avocado is great because it's rich in vitamin E. So that's very good. Be cautious about having too much carrot because that's excess vitamin E, and vitamin A can lead to hypervitaminosis. But tomato has lycopene, and all the fruits, especially like pomegranate, right? It's called the king of the fruits because it's got huge antioxidant and astaxanthin, which is great for skin health and hydration. So stick to that. So try and get one fruit smoothie and one vegetable smoothie as your snack in the morning and in the night, and then the rest of the time, eat your normal healthy food.
Okay, wow. That's a lot of like information that you have to keep in mind. I hope everyone's been taking notes, and if not, we'll be quite happy to answer any questions. Please feel free to follow SkinQ at the rate MySkinQ on
Okay,
Instagram.
thank you. Now, thank you, Richa, for today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining, Doc. We've
Bye.
helped in answering all these questions. So meanwhile,
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
thank you. Meanwhile, I would be quite happy to announce that we have like a whole competition going on. So please take a screenshot of like the masterclass and tag Dr. Chaitra and tag My Skin Q on an Instagram story and tell us what you loved about the session. And one lucky winner will get a personalized skincare hamper, which Doc herself will be curating for you based on your skin needs. So please do participate, and it's going to be worth it just for your skin. Lastly, thank you everyone so much for joining. If you have any questions or if you want to use any skincare products, please feel free to use the code SQTalks20. And if you don't know what your skin needs, you can always take the mirror test, which is like an AI-based mirror, which allows you to know what your skin type is and what kind of products your skin needs right now on skinq.com. You can also note down this phone number where you can call or for any queries, or you can even book consultations. So these are some important things that perhaps you want to keep a lookout on. We'll be adding these links and phone numbers in the comments. Please feel free to have a look, save them, and we'll be quite happy to see you again in the next SkinQ Talk session.
Richa, one question. Does
Mhm.
Dr.